Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the new classical music alphabet. And today we're on the three great H's, up to the letter H. Well, this one was going to be easy, and I know you know what the names have to be. Now, there are many others we could do, and we will be going round the alphabet more than once because wherever you've got lots and lots of people who deserve to be included, well, it would only be fair that we revisit certain letters. I don't know if we'll be able to revisit the whole alphabet. But as I said, it's important that when you do your selection, you pick major composers, or composers who should be major, but maybe haven't gotten quite the recognition, and a recording that is representative so that those who come after us can acquire a fabulously representative collection of the composers in question if they don't know them that well. But H's, oh my goodness. Okay, I know, it's obvious. First H, Handel. I mean, who else could it be? Because the three B's are Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms. Well, you gotta have Handel instead of Bach, right? He's the other one from that period. And the work I chose, actually, is Alexander's Feast. It's not one of his better-known pieces with the English Baroque soloists and John Eliot Gardiner on Decca. Now, it used to be Phillips, but now it's Decca. These are wonderful works. Handel wrote, there's so many interesting things that Handel wrote. He's known for operas on the one hand, which are undergoing a huge revival, and the English oratorios, which, of course, he invented, essentially, and have always been in fashion up to a point. I mean, a good dozen or two are virtually unknown, but the more famous ones. However, there is a category of works that he wrote that are neither opera nor quite oratorio. I mean, they're odes, and they're not based so much on Old Testament storytelling or any of that. Alexander's Feast is one of those. It tells the story of Alexander the Great and his mistress Thais. It's not Massenet's Thais; it's a different one. And they have a dinner where they sing about the power of music to excite the passions. And at the end, Alexander summons up his soldiers and destroys the city of Persepolis. And it's just wonderful. But the point is that these contain some of Handel's best music. There's Alexander's Feast. There's the Ode to Saint Cecilia's Day, which is like glorious. And there's L'Allegro il Penseroso ed il Moderato, based on Milton, and with some Shakespeare tossed in for good measure. I mean, these are glorious, glorious standalone pieces of music. And they just, in a way, they are the easiest of Handel's major choral works to get into because they're not terribly long. They're not 3 hours or 2.5 hours. And you can focus just on the incredible variety of musical forms and color and orchestration and, all the wonderful things that Handel just packed into these pieces. They're totally fabulous. So, Alexander's Feast for Handel. And I'm sure that if you want to do Handel, you can recommend your own fabulous and maybe lesser known Handel masterpiece. Then, of course, Haydn. Oh, of course we have to do Haydn because one of the three B's is Mozart. No, actually, there isn't one, right? It gets Bach, then it jumps the classical period entirely. When we get to the three M's, well, aside from, Minnesota mining and whatever that stands for, we'll have to, probably get Mozart in there, don't you think? But we're on the H's, and so we have Haydn. And Haydn, do I need to talk about Haydn? This is practically the Haydn channel. The work in question, definitely the Paris Symphonies with the New York Philharmonic and Leonard Bernstein. Some of the greatest Haydn you'll ever hear in your life, and evidence, if more were needed, that Haydn's music, particularly, not so much even Mozart's or Beethoven's, needs bigness. Big orchestras, big contrasts, gutsy, exciting, modern approach to sonority, to dynamics, to rhythm, because he had all of that in there. His music has a timelessness and an ageless quality that the period instrument people just don't get. For the most part, there are some times when they do. I mean, there are, and especially in the vocal music, masses and things like that, they do better. But when it comes to the symphonies, the form that Haydn, more than anything else, bequeathed to future generations, and which he understood, as with the string quartet, better than anyone else who's ever lived, these works benefit from the most exciting, thrilling, up-to-date, romantic, no-holds-barred interpretations that you can give them. They have that fiber in them. And so listen to the New York Philharmonic and Leonard Bernstein do these pieces. I mean, you could think they were composed yesterday. I don't mean, the style is the style. It's the classical period. But there is so much excitement and bigness of vision in this music. Even though it's very compact, even though it's not, doesn't stretch your attention spans, but it's thrilling. And boy, is that a great set of records. And last but not least, well, we have to have the third H, don't we? And who's that going to be? There's so many possible options. But I thought, since we had, the three Bs were Bach, Brahms, and Beethoven and Brahms, we'll keep it German. Hindemith. Hindemith is just a first-class contemporary composer, or 20th century composer, who is a little bit on the outs now. He's not as popular as he used to be. He was the last, one of the last, I would say, great German symphonists, along with Karl Amadeus Hartmann, who could very easily have made the list here. Maybe he'll be in one of yours. Feel free to use him. We just did a big talk about him, so I didn't want to, repeat that. Hindemith wrote tons and tons of great music. And I have chosen the Kammermusik series, numbers, well, they're actually, I have 1 through 7, Kammermusik 1 through 7, I think I have written down here. There are actually 8 of them, but the concertos are 1 through 7 or 2 through 7 or something. Anyway, there's a bunch of them. And they're not chamber music. They are chamber orchestra or chamber concertos for solo and orchestra, with the Royal Concertgebouw Orchestra under Riccardo Chailly on Decca. But any version of these that you get will be good. I mean, Abbado did them with the Berlin Philharmonic on Warner, on EMI, and they were first class also. And Ensemble Moderne did them for RCA. There's a bunch of them floating around. And they are splendid works. They are neoclassical. They're Hindemith's answer to Bach's Brandenburg concertos, really. That's what they are. I mean, there's a piano concerto, there's an organ concerto, there's a viola d'amore concerto, there's violin concertos, there's one for just chamber orchestra with no particular solos. But they're neoclassical works. Now, and a lot of neoclassical works by Stravinsky and some by Hindemith too can sound terribly dry. And they sort of motoric. They just chugga 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 chugga. It's just expressively neutered, and very uninteresting. But these works don't. They are refreshing. Good neoclassical music by both of those composers, Stravinsky, Hindemith, and all their neoclassical colleagues, should be. It's like a nice tart sorbet. It's refreshing. It's bracing. It's like a good aftershave. You did this to yourself. It livens you up and brightens things, and because it's not, just dripping with sentiment, it has a certain bracing, refreshing quality about it that's just wonderful. There's a joy in the rhythm, the excitement, the color. It's just lovely. So I chose these Kammermusik pieces because they're not the usual thing, and you can take them in whatever bits or clumps you'd like, and figure out whether you like them or not. But there's tons of Hindemith and tons of great Hindemith, wonderful Hindemith to listen to. So he's definitely one of the major H's, and those are the 3 H's. And I'm very interested to hear or see your list as well, with recording recommendations, of course. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.